We're at the 25th CROI. We're here with Emily Evans from Emory. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm a student
Okay.
at Emory.
All right, okay. Because I think we want to clarify right out of the boot, because you're actually presenting data that was presented, that is being presented from where you were affiliated with before. So let's give that background first, okay?
Sure. So before starting school, I was working with the University of Minnesota in Mbarara, Uganda.
Mm-hmm. And you are now a student at Emory University.
Yes.
So what we're doing here is you're a young investigator. So we're trying to explore some of the challenges and the things that you've been proud about, and some things you're maybe not so proud about. But it's basically trying to find a way to show what it's like to be a young investigator, especially in the field of HIV and AIDS and so forth. It's important that I think our audience understands, appreciates that. So, Emily, first of all, tell us a little bit about your work, the work that you did, the poster that you presented.
Sure. So my poster was part of a sub-study that was nested within a larger clinical trial. So it was with people who have AIDS, sometimes develop cryptococcal meningitis, which is a fungal brain infection. And so the overall clinical trial was looking at patients who's their first time they get diagnosed with cryptococcal meningitis. However, as we were working on it, we found that a lot of patients were coming to us after have been previously treated for cryptococcal meningitis. So unfortunately, they were excluded from the larger clinical trial, but we wanted to learn who this population was and why they were coming to us. And so the poster that I was presenting here was analyzing that population of people who'd been previously treated with cryptococcal meningitis and then came back with symptoms of meningitis and needed to be retested.
And the work that you do now is with as a student at Emory. You're going to be just taking more classes and so forth, because you are truly a young investigator.
Yeah, so we just finished our first year and a half of medical school, so that was a lot of intensive classroom studying, and now I'm starting my clinical clerkships. So I'm balancing that with kind of doing more of the data analysis from some of the work in Uganda, and as that information continues to flow in.
So are you supported with a mentor?
So the team that I was working with in Uganda, with the University of Minnesota, they continue to be people who I lean on when it comes to both personal and academic questions. And
you found that to be helpful?
So yes, it depends
Very
on your
helpful.
definition of a mentor, but I have a broad definition and they would definitely qualify.
Great, no, that's good. So what are the challenges that you faced so far in your very early career?
In my early career, well, I was pretty lucky, I think, in that a lot of how I got to study some of the really interesting things that I have studied was just by luck. And it would have been nice, I think, to have more clearly defined ways of getting into research and being so supported. But you know, I started out in undergrad doing engineering and African studies and was not interested in medicine at all. And then decided just to reach out one day and talk to people who I was interested in their work, and started studying HIV in rural Virginia. And that kind of snowballed until all of a sudden it was rural Virginia HIV infection, and then in rural Uganda, and then and patients with HIV in Uganda who developed meningitis, and then finally cryptococcal meningitis, which when I started I had never even heard of.
So you just kind of fell into the work as you went along. It just made, oh, hey, that's a good idea. But it's always challenging, isn't it? The kind of, do you feel like you had a spark that got you into the field in the first place, but do you feel like that spark is now being blown into a full-blown fire?
Yeah, I definitely think that my interest in HIV and infectious disease, and especially in resource-limited settings, has done nothing but grow since I started.
So you're developing a passion over the years. So I think that some of the times people have come out of high school, they say, okay, I am really passionate about this. Yours evolved in a way.
Oh yeah, I was doing engineering and I had to take a class to supplement it, and it was an anthropology class in African healing, and it kind of snowballed from there. I was originally working in HVAC research and engineering in the automotive industry, and
Wow.
and so it really took a turn.
Yeah. So I think this is all really helpful, because a lot of folks out there are saying, oh, I would never, and then they see what you're saying and say, God, I never thought about that. I mean, your career is still beginning. I mean, you're still, I don't know if you know whether you're really committing down the road 20 years in this either. But how do you feel about that?
I think it's exciting. I mean, I definitely, from talking to people, I don't think that what you decide now is what you have to do and you can only do that for the rest of your life. It's nice to hear all the creative ways that people take their careers.
It's the way it used to be in the very old days.
Okay.
People were started in a factory, they'd work their way up, and they got to some point, and then they retired in the same factory. And it doesn't seem like that's that way at all anymore. But it doesn't say that. I mean, many of the doctors who are in this field right now saw, it was just a commitment to stay with it, to see it through, because they really believed that they could make a difference, and they just never were able to leave the field. I'm talking about doctors that were in it their whole lives and are now retiring. They were in it as students your age, maybe a little older, and the disease came along, and they went into it, and they said, I can't believe what's happening. I can't believe all these people are dying, and we're going to stop it. And they are now retiring from the field. And I don't know if this next wave of students like yourself will feel that same committable passion. I don't say there's anything wrong with one way or the other. I'm just saying that the drama that unfolded left them almost like having to make a commitment, because they couldn't see any other way to live their life. So now that there's a field of medicine that is fully in place, treatment that is effective, which definitely was not there in the first place. We had 10 years of feeling our way in the dark without seeing, is what it was. Now it seems it's very different. So I think the sense that we should find everyone like yourself that say, yeah, I really want to make a commitment for 20 years, and it's not the way people operate today anyway. But I think it's worthy of considering, considering that might be the way to go. And the science itself kind of draws you in, because every time you answer one question, you have 20 more questions. And then you say, I've got to answer this one. This is one that's got me puzzled completely, or I know I can do something about this. So it's who knows? Who knows where it goes for you? So what were your backgrounds in school? Did you ever think that did you have a passion to get into what you first got into, or?
Engineering, I was in love with math. I always thought it was so elegant. It was a great way to combine
There's a lot
math
of math
with real world application. Was just like engineering, and so that brought me into that. But there's a lot of different ways to apply that, and I think medicine is kind of the ultimate problem-solving arena.
It sure is. Yeah. So, do you have any other friends that are in this? I mean, you mentioned your mentors, so to speak. Are they? They're not working with you now, but they're still consulting with you. They're still kind of your mentor in a way.
Definitely. So we were lucky to have a lot of people from the Astro Study team who are here, and then even friends we're working in Mbarara who are here, and from Kampala, and it's been really great seeing people who, you come to these and the people that you expect to see, but then the people you don't expect to see, and then the people you meet. It's been a really incredible experience.
So this is your first CROI?
Yes.
So that's always a good question to ask then. How did it hit you? Is it everything you expected it to be?
And more, yeah. I think the first session I went to was a woman who was one of the most creative people, and she was a creative biochemist who had just did an animation on the life cycle of HIV that she was narrating live for the first time. And I just remember I was giddy and trying to subdue myself a little bit. And it's just been great ever since then.
Well, it's a great collegial experience. The people that are here, like I said, are a lot of especially older folks, have been it their whole lives. I can only tell you, I see them every year for 20 years. And before that, they were, only known to me by the work that they did and the science they produced over the years. But so we got to know each other over the years, and a lot of them made a big difference over there. It might have been incremental, but it's nevertheless every baby step is countable or accountable. So I appreciate the work you're doing. I really wish you a great future.
Thank you.
And I hope you stay with HIV and AIDS, but
I think I will.
not necessary if you want to make a shift.
Well, thank you, and thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you.